Moments in Time with Odie Hawkins and Zola Salena-Hawkins. Hello, Odie. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, let me join you.
Please. You know, I'm drinking this Indian tea that you have. You can take the pull out of the chair and mix it too high.
Oh, I'll put it in the back.
The Indian tea called chai.
Yes, I had some earlier.
Oh, does it pep you up?
Oh, most definitely. Definitely.
Cardamom and cinnamon and all kinds of things.
People need to branch out. Instead of Lipton's, try something new.
Which is where we start. We ended last week with travels to Scandinavia, and we decided to come back this week with
Spain. Yes.
With Spain.
Right. Okay.
So
please share with us Spain, which you promised to take me one day to where you have traveled. Past you have traveled.
And we've gone some places that we haven't traveled, so
this is true.
We'll talk about that too, including an incredibly gorgeous, wonderful trip across the United States from here to
We went to Georgia. We went to Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we went to Chicago.
And to Chicago.
Right.
Yeah.
And saw the Grand Canyon.
To the Grand Canyon, of course. How could you miss that?
Everybody.
But the Grand Canyon is right across the street.
Well, yeah, everybody should see the Grand Canyon, even before you travel to other places.
Well,
if you're here.
Go to other places too, by all means, but see your country first.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Spain. This is what I don't need this. I'm not writing right now.
Right.
I use it on to prevent carpals from taking hold of my wrists, because I'm one of these old-fashioned people.
Old scribes.
Old scribe who writes with a quill and an ink pot.
Night and day. But today he's going to be taking a computer lesson. Okay.
Here we go.
With his own laptop. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Okay, Spain. It was like November 1975. 1975. I could give you a brief history of my marital life up to this time. I got married when I was 19, disaster. I was remarried again.
Oh, but before that disaster, you had a wonderful child.
Yes. It was not a disaster. Because no children are disasters, but the marriage was a disaster.
But Stephen was special.
And Stephen was special. And I'm glad to say that I had a part to play in my stepson's life that he congratulates me for up to this day for some reason.
Okay.
It had something to do with, well, I was a good stepfather.
Very good.
You know, I tried to give him all of the kind of things that I had not been given by my father, and I think I succeeded. So put that on the proper shelf.
Right.
I wound up with a second marriage with a woman who had 2 children. I had 1.
Right.
So we formed a marriage. That didn't last. It was not a disaster. It was just simply a mistake.
No, so you stepfather to father to 1 daughter.
Right, and stepfather to 2 girls.
Stepfather to 2 daughters.
By now, with my own, because I got custody of my child. Our marriage was a wonderful
moment in time.
But I wanted to write, and she wanted a husband.
Steady.
You know, the guy went back and forth to the post office.
Yes. She wanted a nest.
So it was all my fault, and you know, I really felt bad about the fact that it wouldn't last. Anyway, right in between that stepped a woman. I was working as a custodian at the time, and I met this woman who was like a superwoman. She spoke 6 or 7 languages.
Right.
Had been everywhere, and was on her way back to Mykonos in Greece, one of the Greek islands, to hook up with her would-be Greek husband. We got to fooling around. She was recruited by the Kissinger White House to come and spy I know it seemed convoluted, but we're getting to Spain.
We're getting to Spain.
She was recruited. She went to Washington. By this time, we were just simply exchanging letters, and I was writing just pure BS because I had hurt my back. And I had nothing else to do, so I was writing this woman these elaborate notes. And I looked up one day after she had left about a year, and I was living in Compton at the time, and she showed up. And what are you doing here? And she's
You're supposed to be one of my fictitious, right? Characters, right?
Oh, my back. What are you? But you said. I did? I said what?
I said what? Okay.
Make a long story short, we actually got together, and it was an interesting relationship because she was the first person I had married that I wasn't married to. We had a long-standing marital relationship, but we never got married. Who could see some benefit in what I was doing and said, okay, well, you do that, I'll do this. And before I knew it, we had a good business relationship. But I hate to say this because it might be misunderstood. We had more of a partnership than a, like,
you were friends.
I'm crazy about you.
Okay, right. Yes.
With your black dress on. Come to me, baby, with your black dress on.
Okay.
It was, it was a good friendship, but it was a money relationship.
Yeah.
So we made money together. I was writing screenplays.
And she was hooking you up.
She was hooking me up, and we traveled to Mexico a lot together because she spoke Spanish, and that helped. But lo and behold, I looked up, and writers are such weird creatures in some ways. I heard that. I heard that.
It's true.
But, I have to think we are. I was watching the life of Hemingway the other night, and I thought, oh my God, what kind of disaster that was. In between all that, he wrote The Sun Also Rises and all the rest of his books. We had a relationship for about 6-7 years. And I took the money that we made and blew it.
Right, you took your half of the money that you made.
We divided everything. I like that. I come from Mississippi gamblers who say, play it straight and everything will be cool. Try to cheat and you're going to wind up getting the short end of the stick.
Right.
So while we were doing what we were doing, we divided. I can remember us going to a bank cashing a check for like $30,000, and I'm standing at the counter saying, 100 for you, 100 for me, and the bank guard is looking at us saying, what is this?
Right,
Beverly Hills Bank.
Right.
But I looked up and discovered that I wanted to write a new book, I wanted to go a new place, so I wound up with this Japanese woman of Okinawan descent from Hawaii. Jane. And I think that was doomed for failure from the beginning, but you have to play things out. You have to write it to the end.
It seemed correct at that moment.
It seemed correct at that moment in time. Don't forget the title of what this is about, Moment in Time.
Yes.
Marilyn met Jane. She says she's a nice young lady. I was pushing 40 at the time. I think she was about 23.
Oh, must be a
thing
that some men do.
She didn't know anything about the world. I knew too much. And
so she gravitated towards you sort of like...
I think it was like an older man.
Right, that...
who could be charming.
You were walking on water at that time.
At that time. I've told you far too much. And so we did, well, okay. We wound up in Spain because up to that point in time, from the time I was in the Watts Writers Workshop, right there in Watts, I think, and coming from Chicago, I must have had the police pull their weapons on me at least 100 times.
Okay. Yeah.
And be real honest with you, I was becoming a little bit afraid of my attitude and the way I was behaving, and I think I was becoming a little bit neurotic. I had been making money, going cash the check, give me the check, I went to cash it.
Mm-hmm.
On one occasion, as an example, still coming to Spain,
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Beverly Hills bank, and as I was pulling into the parking space, a white guy in a blue pinstripe suit, I never will forget him,
Mm-hmm.
he just pushed in beside me, you know,
Right.
in front of me.
Took your parking space.
Took my parking space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not into road rage or anything like that. You know, when I drive, I let, if you want to go first, please. I got all the time in the world. But on that occasion, and at that point in time, after having gone through these kind of things from time to time before,
Mm-hmm. Getting your check, and going through the rigmarole.
you know, are you sure you're the person here? Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of my car. He got out of his car. And he stood there, he was putting money in the meter.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and laughed in my face.
Ooh,
And I
not a
spat
good
on
thing.
him. I made a big hark up and spat right on his blue suit.
Oh, Lord.
And he looked at me, you know, like, hey, wait a minute, what? This guy's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't crazy, I was fed up.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry, as most African Americans are, about what has been happening, what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to get into present-day circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching the summary of the trial, of the
Yeah.
Chauvin trial happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I had to get out of America for a little while because I
Shut
was
down.
becoming,
Yeah.
I was becoming neurotic.
Mm-hmm.
On one occasion, cops stopped me.
Mm-hmm.
That stopped. You know, I hadn't done anything. I'm doing 22 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone
Okay.
in Beverly Hills,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not supposed to be after dark anywhere according to their rules.
Right.
And he was trying to make me understand that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, well, how can that be?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an American, you're an American, and
Mm-hmm.
I deserve to be anywhere I am in America just as you are.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't committed any crime with it. I was a little bit too articulate for him. He pulled out his pistol and said, shut up.
Okay.
And I said, you know, fuck you.
Oh, okay.
And it was going to go to another level.
Uh-huh.
People on the street, I think, prevented him from shooting me
Mm-hmm.
because they started looking out of the windows and see what was, and I was talking loud enough.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So I left. We thought about it. Jane has been experiencing her own little anti-Asian things. You know, it's funny. History repeats itself.
Oh, yes, it does.
Wow.
Yes, it is. That's why it's good to know it. So you don't.
I didn't relate to that kind of thing until I started hearing her part of the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Okay. You know, reinventing, reminiscing on what was the past.
Yeah.
To what we're doing with right now. Right. Yeah.
Okay. People are asking her, you know, why is it that you don't act Asian?
Oh.
You know, because she's very outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
She had a job at one point as a waitress in a job in an Italian restaurant
Right.
called Luigi's.
Uh-huh.
And people were expecting, you know, the little geisha to tit her up to the table, and she, you know, and here's somebody saying, you know, my soup is too not warm enough. She said, well, if you would shut up and eat it, then it would be okay. You know,
Okay.
which didn't.
Then go.
I mean, hey, wait a minute, you're the waitress. Wait, you know, what am I supposed to do? She's sitting at the running the mouth and soups get cold. She said, well, she wants me to replenish it. I'm not going to go back in the kitchen there. So I think she had to leave too.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, we decided on Spain
Mm-hmm.
because I was interested in Spanish sherries and the bullfight.
Right.
She just wanted to go to Europe.
Okay.
So I had gotten some money from a screenplay, a rewriter of a screenplay, a nice enough sum of money to round trip ticket, and we could live for maybe 2 or 3 years. you know. And off we go to New York to take the trip from there. My friend, the sociologist David Heiss, accommodated us for a couple of weeks, a couple of days before we do the push off. Got to...
That's the one you often want to try to hook up with, David Heiss? No.
David Heiss, yeah.
Okay, David Heiss.
David Heiss, the sociologist, a great sociologist. Google David Heiss.
Yeah.
He's written some books that even he says, I can't really understand.
Okay.
I can't really understand. We decided to get off and live in Madrid. See how living in Madrid would be.
Right.
And here's where I can give you the official beginning life in Spain. This is 1975.
How do you specifically know it was 75?
November 1975 because Francisco Franco, El Caudillo, the leader, was dying.
Okay.
We were taking a train from into Madrid, and Franco took a long time to die.
Okay.
And I remember the train conductor coming to our compartment where we were laughing at what we were hearing over the news. El Caudillo, Francisco Franco, is now almost dead.
Almost dead.
He is not dead yet,
Right. Okay.
but he's
coming.
coming to die. You know? Anyway, I thought we were going to get off the train and get shot. But we arrived in Madrid in 1975, and as you go back in the history of things, the places you went to long time ago, the saying is you can never go back to the same fire because it will be ashes.
Right.
But Madrid in November of that year, 1979, was cold as hell. I mean, it was cold, man. Cold.
Like Chicago?
Like Chicago.
Okay.
It's like on the plateau, like Mexico City,
Okay.
which is what the wind is coming to. Not so much the wind, but the iciness is coming off of these mountains around. So we're in Madrid, and with sweaters, in a pension on the Plaza Matute, freezing.
Oh, no.
And I'm saying, wait a minute.
Right,
I didn't come here to get cold.
Right, okay. I could stay in Chicago, right?
Okay. November, December, I remember right after Christmas, I suggested, we got to get out of here. So where would you go that would be warm? In Spain. We wanted to stay at home, stay in Spain. And the people were warm and friendly, very gracious. It's a cafe society, where people go and sit and have coffee and look at the pretty girls and the festivals happening all the time. I like the Spanish spirit of life.
Okay.
I did miss the outrageous American racism. The Spanish are racist too, of course. Otherwise we wouldn't have a Latin America and all of that. But there was a different kind of racism. I mean, I couldn't imagine being lynched in Spain.
Okay. Yeah.
After people got to know you a little bit, you became senor or so-and-so, and most of the people I met knew their history a bit, so that Spain was a colonial force and so forth and so forth. But it was still cold.
Okay, yeah.
So we decided, the best way to stay warm was to go down south. Well, where did we go? South of Madrid, go to Valencia. That's not south enough. The closer we got, the closer we could get to the Mediterranean, the warmer it would be. It would be like late spring is in Long Beach.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
a little chilly in the evening, but you know, bearable, not icy plateau cold.
Mm-hmm.
Got on the bus and went down to a little town called Alicante. Alicante.
Yes.
I'm sure it's not the little town it was then, but in 1975, 76, it was a gorgeous little town. And it had an old section to it, and of course a new section.
Mm-hmm.
The cheaper places were in the older section, of course, near the fort, near the red light district and so forth. We hung out for a minute in a hotel called the Residencia Norte.
Okay.
The Residencia Norte was a hotel run by a Basque guy who smoked so much his inside of his mouth had turned black from tobacco. I forget his name, but very nice guy, but man, you never saw him without he puffed. We just sort of hung out there. This would be something I would encourage almost anybody to do going anywhere.
Right.
Go hang out for a little bit. Unless you want to go to the big hotel with the cabana and the pool and so forth. But we went to this place in town.
How'd you get around in traffic-wise?
Small town, you go walk almost anywhere.
Oh, okay.
If you had to take a taxi from Alicante to Murcia, we'll look up the coast. Alicante is like the gateway to old Spain. When you go from Alicante to Murcia to Seville, you get into deep southern Spain, which is more Moorish in my mind than anything else. Alicante was very Moorish too. Matter of fact, one of the earmarks of the city was a castle with a man's outline on the profile that they called El Moro. The Moor, El Moro.
El Moro, okay.
It was the Moor's castle, a Moor's head. And it looked like you. It looked like me.
Okay, right, okay.
I always got a kick out of that because that was the first thing I could see in the morning, last thing at night. After, I think maybe about a month in the Residencia, I thought, you know, we can beat this by renting a room. We're going to be here for a while. We knew people. Everybody was, gracious and suggesting this and that. A lady came to me who was a member of a family, one of the wealthiest family in town. Her name was Seraphina Sanchez Bou Gomez. Seraphina Sanchez Bou Gomez. Don't forget that name.
That's a long name, but got it. Okay.
She looked like a witch.
That's pretty nice.
She did. She looked like a witch. She looked like a crone.
Okay.
She had about 3 teeth up here, a few down here, and she was muy elegante. Even she was, I mean, ravaged. She drank too much.
Yes. She drank? What did she drink?
She drank something called Tío Pepe.
Ah.
It was the worst wine in the world.
Right.
No self-respecting American wino would drink Tío Pepe, not in Spain.
Not even a wino.
Not even wino. You could go to the local bodega and get the best wine in the world.
Okay.
Well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Anyway, we found out she had a room that she would rent for very, very economical price. The room looked out. You open one of these big blinds, and it looked out on the back of the town of Alicante, you know, which was the real place. The gypsies sang over there. These people were shoeing horses over here. And,
oh, wow. All right.
you know, you could look out every morning and see the backside of the town.
Okay.
That sold me on it. But our friends were telling us, Señor, don't go to stay in la casa, in the home of Seraphina. They call her Fina. Don't go to stay in la casa de Fina.
Oh, why?
These women is a disaster. Is a disaster. Her family owned one of the bars on the mile-long beach. It was like a Copacabana. They owned one of the bars, and they made trash bags full of money in season.
Okay.
She was a member of the family, but she was in such disrepute, they put her down in the basement to pass out towels.
Right, okay.
Because she was, how do you call people who, she was not iconoclast. She didn't
she was not pleasant for the eye.
She was, that's a good case.
Okay.
But she might have been at one point, she might have been a Spanish beauty.
I gather.
You know, but she was ravaged. She
Right.
She lived a hard life. She was still married to a husband who lived on the north, in the north of Spain, in Galicia, who sent her money for the son they had named Alberto, who was a little brat, and I'll get to him at some point.
Okay.
But we wound up, I see, I didn't take anybody's advice. I'm saying, I'm looking for a cheap place to stay. We want to stay here for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and I can't pay $5 a week for that long. That's how much the rent was.
Oh, okay.
So we went, and she was gracious, and she said, I'll add food to lunch to your rent. Okay.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. But
Sounded good.
If it sounds too good to be true, more than likely.
It's more than too good to be true.
Right, okay.
So we wound up in this place, and right from the beginning, it was like a complete chaos. She lived a chaotic life.
Okay. So your friends were correct.
Yeah, they were totally correct. I mean, she had one catastrophe after another happening. Her son was a catastrophe. Alberta was trying to be a juvenile delinquent. She says to me, Odie, we sat on the sofa like this every evening. Right here, right, like where you're sitting, they had a bomboni. It's looks like a propane canister. Big thing. You open it up and get heat from it.
Oh, okay. All right.
It scared me to death because it looked like what it was, a bomboni.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm thinking this damn thing gonna blow up.
Right.
But it heated the area right here.
Right, yeah, okay, right.
So if you sit in here, it might freeze to death.
Right, okay.
Okay, she and Jane didn't hit it off together at all because Fina wanted to tell her how to run her life, and she's saying, you can't tell me anything, you're not my mother, you're not my auntie, you're not.
Yes.
Fina sees a young woman.
Right.
In addition to that, her understanding of Americana is so warped. She's saying to me secretly, is your wife a spy?
All right.
Why? What are you talking about? Japanese. Japanese. She's Japanese.
Oh.
So no, she's a Japanese from Hawaii. She's not even from Japan directly. She's a second generation. She's a what do you call it? Nisei, Sansei, Yansei. She's a third generation. She's a Yansei. She's a third She's a third generation Okinawan Japanese American.
Right.
But she's a Japanese. Oh Lord have mercy. So Fina was both bigoted and prejudiced, but at the same time extremely liberal.
Right. Well, I think you were talking about how she liked the gypsy music, but she didn't like the gypsy.
She didn't like the gypsy.
Okay, like, balance.
Okay, the telly is right here. Our room is over here. She sends Alberto to get me. Alberto, I'm imitating her. Her voice is ground down to a level like that.
Right.
Alberto, bring Senor Odie to come look at Paco de Lucia, one of the great guitarists. He wasn't a gypsy. Paco de Lucia was never a gypsy. But she would have somebody like Las Manitas de Pata. las manitas de plata, the little fingers of silver.
Wow.
They would have great gypsy people, just ordinary people, and she adored them. She would get up and begin to show me what really mattered, and you know, it's not the hips. They do the hips. No, senor. It's not the. It's the hands. It's the hands. You say the word in the hand, and while the thing is playing, and she's drinking Tio Pepe, and carrying on in grand fashion.
Right.
While she also sometimes lost control of her bladder that she never seemed to notice. And I'm taking it all in. The woman had a 6th grade education, but she understood Spanish politics. She lived through this, as a young girl, she lived through the Spanish Civil War. Yes, we ate horses, we ate whatever we could eat, senor. She didn't understand the American racial thing at all. Well, she says to me...
Sometimes we don't understand it, so why would she?
Ain't that the truth?
Okay. You know.
It does get to be a bit confusing, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about you white people running around talking about, I'm the victim of what it is that you people are doing to us, which is demand civil rights. I mean, you know. Anyway, but that's another story. We're living in La Casa de Fina. Show you how warped it. I'm talking about somebody who thought that Jane was a spy, but we went out together, and she wanted to do that a lot to show us off. Right. She would have one arm around my shoulder and one arm around her shoulder, and we stopped and talked to her friends. My Spanish was okay at that time. Right. And she would explain to them that these were her honored guests in her home, and that La Señora Japonesa was an eminent spy from Japan. From Japan by way of Hawaii. So no, that's not.
That's not true. That's not true.
And that El Señor here es un escritor superbo.
Ah, writer, superb
writer. Superb writer. And
okay.
He's in Spain to drink sherry and watch the bullfight. And we did go to bullfights, but that was in Madrid.
All right.
And there was Alicante. It was the weather was pleasant, which was the major thing, but it was the getting to know people of a different cultural, nuances. One of my best friends was a Swiss guy who had come from Switzerland, had a cafe, and he was the most incredible linguist I ever met. He spoke ordinarily French, Spanish, German, whatever language that came into his cafe. If they came more than 3 or 4 times, he would learn the language.
Really?
His name is George, George. They would say Jorge.
Jorge, of course.
So okay, how do you do that, man? How do you do that? Oh, I learned the alphabet, because all alphabets are not the same.
Oh, yes.
We got ABC, they got A, B, C.
Right.
And I learned the alphabet, and then I learned what they eat. And what's that got to do with anything?
What they eat. That's interesting.
Well, in his way, he's saying everything of what makes them what they are. I learned what turns them on, I learned what turns them off.
Yeah.
The words, simply, he was learning Bulgarian. Okay. Some Bulgarians came in, they came in because they liked his food. And so, you know, he's learning, I don't know if it's called Bulgarian, I guess it is. But he said, you give me 1 month, I know some of that. You know, English was not his first language. But the way he explained as a Swiss, we had a lot of Mongolians come to Switzerland after the Chinese Revolution.
Oh, okay.
And how did that happen? I mean, what happened? So we turned them into Swiss. How did you do that? Well, we made them understand that if you want to be a Swiss citizen,
Right.
the first thing you have to do, they speak 4 or 5 languages in Switzerland, depending on the canton you come to. If you live in the Swiss speaking, that's one thing. If you live in the what is called, there's an Italian canton, but it's like 4 different provinces.
Okay.
And you learn the language that
Then the
they
province.
have, but the major languages, the unified language is Swiss, Swiss, whatever they call it.
Right.
And so somebody who lived there for 3 years, speaking Swiss, voting as a Swiss citizen, if they get citizenship, becomes a Swiss. You can retain your own language, your own little home customs,
Right.
but you
Your allegiance.
must become
Yeah.
Swiss. Okay, so that was George and me. We played chess together. He liked that. He had somebody to play chess with. He beat the shit out of me all the time, but that was beside the point. So we lived in Alicante. We had overspent in Madrid by a lot, because every night that I was in Madrid, maybe it was because I was cold or something, I would be in the tablaos until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
The tablao, the flamenco tablaos, I guess the translation would be cafes or bars and stuff. You could go to one and nothing is happening. Madrid is a live city. It closes down at 10 and reopens at 12. You could go to the tablao and sit up there and sip the best sherry in the world, and nothing is happening. They bring in I remember this happening, they would bring a busload of Japanese tourists who would sit there and take pictures of everything they could see.
Right.
And nothing was happening. The guitar is thrumming on the guitar. The singer is singing, ah!
Right.
And then the busload goes away, and somewhere, I remember distinctly this particular kind of thing happening. Sometime like about 2:30 in the morning. This guy who'd been sitting over in the corner looking like he was half drunk or something, he hits a note, and all of a sudden the electricity shoots through the performers on the stage, because this is master so-and-so, so-and-so. They know, we don't know.
Right.
The gypsy duende,
Yes.
the duende, I think we might be, the equivalent might be something when somebody gets, like Muddy Water, gets so deep into the blues, you can't help but understand it. And this is Senor's thing, Senor, Horace Silver might call him Senor Blues.
Oh, okay.
When he hits that note and lets out something equivalent to a primeval scream. Ah! You know,
Yes, yeah.
and people come alive and they come around him and started singing and clapping and stuff. The set ends at 4:30 in the morning. I go back to go to sleep and do what you do during the day, and then the next night I'm down at
Like the same
block.
place, okay.
I became addicted. No,
I'm sure.
there's many of them. You go around and
And Jane didn't want to travel there?
the nightlife was a little bit too heavy for her, because she, deep down, was just a regular person.
Right, okay.
I'm not.
This is true.
So,
Even still.
after having a year in Alicante, I'm glad you agree with that.
Well, I think we're going to leave Africa
We're going to save Africa
for the
because
next time.
until next Monday, because that becomes our story. But I felt it was necessary to just sort of climb up the steps a bit
Well, also, you
through
know,
these stories.
the main thing is that travel is broadening of the mind, okay? And so that if one wants to be a writer, a director, or do...
If you want to be a mensch,
If you want to be a mensch, yes. If If you want to be
You got to understand other people. If you're not willing to do that, then drop off the face of the earth.
Well, and also to travel without any preconceived ideas of who these people are, or, you know, and don't go with a, well, I want to check out you people. How about just checking out folks?
Go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Right? And you didn't even mention the food that you ate in Spain. Just quickly.
You could eat anything you could imagine, fixed in a superb way. There's one world famous cook right now, and I will be quick about this, named Jose Andres. Jose Andres is feeding millions of people on this planet.
Yes, yes.
He's a Spanish cook. And what he's giving is not just purely old-fashioned Spanish recipes, but he's making food that anybody on this planet could eat, and he's feeding millions of people through his programs.
One thing that you did, you ate in Spain that you cooked for me is the one with the potatoes.
The paella. Oh. They call it in Spain tortilla. Tortilla español.
Yes.
And it's eggs and potatoes and
Delicious.
I don't know why they call it tortilla, but that's what
it's delicious.
We'll have it this afternoon.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you, Odie Zola.
I'm just lying, but
well, one afternoon, and another, a soon afternoon. You know, when he tells his tales to me, they're not always maybe that immediate, but his heart
is in the right place.
Is in the right place.
I mean well.
Yes, your heart's over there.
Oh, which way's my heart? Over here. Over here. I got the right place.
Okay. Indeed.
My heart is my heart. Your heart is your heart.
Yes, my heart belongs to you too.
And my heart belongs to you.
All right. With that, our hearts also
belong
to you. All right. Hope you enjoyed this moment in time with Odie Zola, and
Get back to you.
Get back to you next Monday.
Next Monday?
Next Monday.
Around about the same time.
About the same time. All right.
We're going to Africa.
We're going
to Ghana, West Africa.
Amen. All right.
Ciao.
Ciao. And
Itness.
Itness.